#1 Marmaduke fan here. Okay. Okay, so here's the story. I've been going to the comic book shop regularly. I've been going to multiple comic book shops, and one had, like, 50-cent day for end of year sales. I'm thinking, oh boy, I want to support a comic book shop. I'll buy a whole bunch of 50-cent books and make videos out of them. And they were cool guys. They gave me some good prices on stuff. They knocked the price down a few things because I bought so much. And got this. I don't know. Okay, this is like a flashback to me of everything I've been thinking about in philosophy of art and 21st century art classes, and not in a good way. Pop is meant to be kind of in reference to pop idols. The main character is supposed to be like, she's supposed to be a pop star before she escapes. Pop art, the bright colors, the lurid sort of psychedelic designs. And man, I think when I was talking about Mr. Miracle, it was postmodern-ish in that it wasn't on the nose, but I still felt like it had a point. This is the bad kind of postmodern. And I have kind of unusual views on modern and postmodern art for a traditional conservative. I guess kind of the Prager University video on why is modern art so bad. You could kind of use that as an example of the typical, conservative view of modern and postmodern art, where it kind of sees it as a bastardization of classical art styles. And I held that argument for a long time in my own thinking. And I guess I kind of had the classic, story of the little kid from a red state town going to school and meeting the professors and being exposed to all these tough new arguments, and having to read a whole bunch of Marxist stuff. But instead, even though I didn't become a Marxist, I had these experiences on colleges that at least made me sympathetic to blue state people, to social justice kind of people, and to modern and postmodern art. So kind of the conclusion of my experience was that modern art and postmodern art, I actually find that stuff pretty interesting. I find it pretty fascinating. Some of it I actually do think is quite beautiful and meaningful, whatever the artist intended. But I think if I could summarize the problem with modern and postmodern art, it wouldn't be that it's wicked or that it's ugly or that it's stupid. I think the problem with modern and postmodern art tends to be pretentiousness, in that it's always seeing itself as the great art of its own time, and all that comes before it as the work of nincompoops. And then the next genius comes along and declares you to be a nincompoop. And as I'm reading this, I just see all the garbage essays I had to read for 21st century gender politics, queer theory, ethnic studies, and art classes all at once. So, this was a special cringe for me. But let's talk about the good. I think the good is the drawing and the use of color. So I think about Zach so much because he really got me roaring back into comics. So in some of Zach's independent projects, I've seen him struggle with the use of color. And I think these are pretty fascinating because they're using a pop art sensibility to their color. But the colorist, Pete Toms, deserves props because I think Pete will use kind of garish pop colors, but will use them smartly and in balance so that it isn't garish or hideous. And there will be a theme to the book. So I want to talk about a couple. I'll do maybe some color theory stuff later. I mean, color theory is such a broad topic. There's sure to be tons of good stuff on it on YouTube, but I kind of want to do something for applying that to comics. Man, I forgot to get a handkerchief for these horrible sniffs. I'm sorry, guys. So the easy, dumb solution I figured out is if I can just take my glasses off, everything resolves into a blurry image, and I can get an understanding of what the color composition is. And if you can't see it with your glasses off, then it's not that important compositionally. It has to be large enough to make an effect on you. Obviously, if there's a tiny little detail like a headband that's a bright color, that can help liven up a composition, but it's not going to matter so much that it's affecting how you move throughout the whole page. The bigger strokes and the bigger movements are more important to creating a harmonious color composition than the tiny little ribbon in her hair. If you have 20/20 vision, you can simulate that by squinting your eyes pretty narrow. If you squint very, very, very tightly to the point where only a tiny bit of light comes in, you can actually eliminate most hues and read the composition almost as a grayscale or colorless composition to check for value. But just squinting can be enough to just give you a vague idea of color. And I suppose in this day and age, you could always just throw a page in Photoshop, blur tool, and then get an idea of what the color harmonies are. So you would find in this, I think, really good examples of smart use of color, right? So blue, blue, blue. It expands. It's not just one blue thing down here. An overall tone, lots of yellows, oranges, and pinks, and then a little green to show he's inside, in a different lighting situation. But there's still a yellow and yellow-orange theme here, so there's consistency throughout the whole page. Of kind of a yellow-orange vibe, but then variety to distinct, indoors from outdoors. Okay, so general praise of the color. Drawing's okay. Not Rembrandt, not SJW Marble, but the story. Oh, it hit me in the gut. Okay, I think its problem is, it opens with an Andy Warhol quote, right? And Andy Warhol is kind of the woke artist for Tumblr types who want to talk about, late capitalism, man, and we gotta stick it to the man. And Andy Warhol's an interesting guy, and he made beautiful art, but I feel like the reason that Andy Warhol is immortalized by woke progressive art professors has more to do with the worldview of Andy Warhol than it does with the beauty of a lot of his work. And there are call-outs to Andy Warhol, and the problem is that if you're Andy Warhol and you work really hard and you make a lot of work, you can get away with some of that. If you're kind of a dark horse comic book with your head too far up your rear end, and Kurt Pierce, kind of like, I feel like this is something that more my dad would get, kind of like that, whoa, hippie, man. All the drugs, man, all the drugs. But we gotta make fun of Justin Bieber too, and kids these days. What are you? Are you for baby boomers? Are you for woke 15-year-olds on Tumblr? What is this for? So they grow pop stars, and one of the pop stars runs away, and she meets this drug addict comic book shop owner, and I guess he's got to be a comic book nerd for us to identify with him, or for the writer to identify with him, or whatever, and he's thinking of killing himself. Okay, more good color. Transition into kind of their beautiful dream world, and then a lot more green in that. And comments on pop culture and Britney Spears and sex objects. I really like, okay, since the color is the thing I like, I need to talk about that a little more. Color contributes to the rhythm of a comic as much as the panels and the art. So this is a tense scene where she's got something growing inside her and they've got to cut it out. Plain whites, reds, yellow, orange, light beige, yellow, orange, red, yellow, orange, white. Okay, so what is this doing emotionally? Okay? Oh, that was so weird. But the point is that color has an emotional impact on you that can sometimes be hard to describe. And what I was trying to illustrate by that completely weird and easily taken out of context bit there is the energy is raising. He turns away, the energy lowers. The energy raises again as he's about to cut her. Climax as he cuts her, and then tension relieves as he cuts the robot out. And then he smokes weed, I have a hard time. It's one thing to have a character who's a drug addict, right? It's another thing to have a character do drugs in the middle of tense life or death situations. That's the point where I think you're beyond people being able to identify with this character. And this whole scene, so he's like Dustin Bieber. He's supposed to be Justin Bieber. Ha ha. This dates the comic because hating Justin Bieber was a thing like 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. And that's over. I was too old for Justin Bieber. I kind of rolled my eyes at Beaver Fever. But the thing is, if you don't like Justin Bieber, you can ignore Justin Bieber. You don't have to do this cringy kind of, oh man, Justin Bieber, he's such a goofball. Look, he's getting violently assaulted. Man, that's so funny because I hate Justin Bieber. This made me sick of it. Even if they try to establish him as a bit of a jerk, I don't want to see Justin Bieber torture stuff. And this takes up the last chunk of the comic that was trying to establish, this teeny bopper would have been a pop star and this drug addict is the characters I'm supposed to follow. Look, even like the front and the back cover, good color sensibility, good consistency. Kind of what I like about kind of Andy Warhol art, like the variety and the power and the warmth, but just pretentious. Eyes without a face. Okay, what's that mean? There's some pretentious. If I remember correctly, there was some pretentious quote. Lost myself in your neon-drenched kisses, your candy-coated invitation to inside the abyss, the ketamine dreams, the future shock screams. What? And I got more annoyed as time went on. So we continue our theme of really good cover design, really good kind of evoking the pop art sensibility while making it look kind of cool and kind of unified. And again, I love the color theory, but just so gross in its worldview and what it's trying to teach. And if it's not trying to teach anything. And then, here are the bad guys who run the empire, and they're all fat and gross and sexist. Oh, late stage capitalism. Oh, the capitalists or whatever. Okay, and here's the scene, right? We've established they're in a life and death situation. And I'll have to, oh man, I just thought of something I missed in the first one. Whatever, keep going. And now they're going to do some kind of harder drug, Oh, Terrence McKenna in the rainforest. Let's get it to focus. Watching time and space break down. Morrison's Kathmandu experiences. Good grief. Man, 50-year-olds 50 or 6-year-olds trying to write like for 18-year-olds or 16-year-olds. What is this? Whoa, man. Whoa, man. This is someone let her out, man. See, we got a little exposition in this amazing psychedelic stuff. Oh, man, blood everywhere. We're so edgy. Okay, to Jesse and James is what I'm going to call them. Chase them. More good color. But, yeah. The universe is our operating system. And more of that junk I'm not going to read. Waveforms. I watch the waveforms distort. I trace my reflection in the cerulean of the pool. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Okay. I even like the consistency of the back and front of this cover, where, there is clearly a break, but this carries over, shot in the dark. Again, I like this. This looks cool. This looks like a cool painting, but it's dressing for something I just can't connect with on any level. All right, so Jesse and James. Jesse's hurt and James is worried about her. And pop star and drug addict guy go to see his drug dealer, and he's obsessed with pony cartoons or whatever. And they crash with him, and then we see Fatso McCapitalist, and Beardy McCapitalist gets mad. And this guy's got a conscience. I like this. Gray, yellow. Gray, yellow. Red, the colorist is signaling something. This guy is important, says the colorist. Thank you, colorist. You rock so much. You rock so much, Pete Toms. And Jesse and Jane. This is where I started doing this to the comic. I didn't even mean to do that. But you know what? You deserve it. This is so pretentious. Okay. Andy Warhol was famous for these, repeated portraits with variations in colors, right? So again, we're paying homage to Andy Warhol, and here's where the worldview of the whole thing just starts to break down. What is real? La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. No one anywhere has anything figured out. And if they're trying to convince you they do, they're lying to themselves and you. We're all just hot messes of chemical imbalances and phantom nerve impulses. We're all just beautiful holograms. We're all just as real as we want to be. You know, sometimes, just sometimes you seem like you got things pretty figured out. No, nothing he said there says that he has things figured out, miss. And I don't know, like this character doesn't even make sense. Like she was grown in a test tube and she has some knowledge of pop culture, but not knowledge of other forms of pop culture. Like somewhere she said mansplaining. Why did they teach her what mansplaining was in her cocoon? So she could be woke on social media, but she doesn't know any of the movies of the past century. I don't know. So essentially, this is if you read the back of your assigned reading for the existentialists in your philosophy 101 course, you've heard this spiel before. We're all in the matrix. It's all a dream. What you want to be real is real. Don't let anyone tell you they know what's real. Okay, it's a morally bankrupt world for telling me a story, because if nothing's real and nothing matters, why does your comic book matter? Why does your story matter? Why are you taking psychedelic drugs in the middle of a life or death situation? Oh, okay. But you know, all right. So I have to be a little forgiving because in context, it might make sense for a character like this to have a worldview like this because he's very nihilistic in thinking about death. But the problem is, this is sort of almost a critical moment for these two, and it's giving me a speech. You know, if I want to read Jean-Paul Sartre, I'll go read Jean-Paul Sartre. If I want to go read Nietzsche, I'll go read Nietzsche. Give me a story! And then Jesse and James break in, and look, it's Andy Warhol's record cover. Man! Warhol, bro! And evil guys watching like a snuff film because capitalists and the man, am I right? All right, and here's where I get triggered. So, you know, the drug addict is getting experimented on or whatever. Look at this. This is just, I don't know whether to blame the writer or the artist, but I went to a 21st century art class once, the comic book page. I just want to look at this with you. Tears of blood, lips, tears of blood, lips, tears of blood. Strong man, Nazis, strong man, Nazis, strong man, money, explosions of war, money, war, children, money, Coca-Cola bullets, Coca-Cola violence, evil, blood, lips, Nazis, strong Ubermensch, bullet. Ah, pretentious. And then he remembers, like, not seeing his mom and his dad die or something, and this moron, I guess, I don't know, he had some evil uncle that made him a post-modernist and screwed him up, and he's in the Matrix. All right. I read this freaking garbage. So the reason I knew once, this made me understand everything I had just read, because this was my life for a chunk of art school, you know, not the chunk where I felt, yes, I learned valuable skills that I'm happy with for life, but the chunk that made me wonder what the heck I was doing with my time and with my energy. I want to read this quote, okay? I can't go on a tangent. No, let's not get personal. Let's read the quote. Disneyland is a perfect model of all the entangled orders of simulacra. It is first of all a play of illusions and phantasms, the pirates, the frontier, the future world, etc. This imaginary world is supposed to ensure the success of the operation, but what attracts the crowds the most is without a doubt the social microcosm, the religious, miniaturized pleasure of real America, of its constraints and joys.
one park outside and stands in line inside. One is altogether abandoned at the exit. The only phantasmagoria in this imaginary world lies in the tenderness and warmth of the crowd, and in the sufficient and excessive number of gadgets necessary to create the multitudinous effect. The contrast with the absolute solitude of the parking lot, a veritable concentration camp, is total. Jean Baudrillard, simulacra and simulation.
This one's gonna get punished. Just you wait.
America has freedom of speech because all words are considered equally vapid, bro. Only images count, man. The censors love snaps of death and mutilation, but recoil in horror at the sight of a child masturbating. There's one for Aiden Paladin right there. Apparently they experience this as an invasion of their existential validity, their identification with the Empire, Trump, America, and its subtler gestures. Hakim Bay, the temporary autonomous zone, ontological anarchy, poetic terrorism.
So even though I slammed this one enough to get the pages to fall out a bit, I'm sticking with my promise. I'm not going to rip this, but I'm going to roast this. And I know exactly how I'm going to roast this. So, in order to draw Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, you need your eyes and your big nose and your smile and your gross goatee. And then he's kind of got a lantern jaw, doesn't he? And then, you know, Shaggy gets a bad rap, but he wasn't even supposed to be like a drug addict. Hanna and Barbera were probably pretty, old-fashioned Republican dudes. But he was supposed to be like a beatnik. And then this idea of him as, a stoner with the munchies arose later, and a coward. But he still typifies, zoinks, man, everything that is so lame about this. Zoinks! Okay, what's another irritating 60s thing? Because, even Jenny Tartakovsky had a little psychedelic art in his, but it was used sparingly. So we need something that's completely irritating from the 60s. We need a disco ball. That's what we need. Okay. And then have some of the lights coming on here, and it's all shining around. Oh, yeah. Radical, man. Let's write radical in big, bold letters. Radical. Okay, I need another punishment. So Shaggy pretty much typifies the 60s beatnik stoner. Oh, what else is annoying? Let's draw Andy Warhol. Poor Andy. He kind of he had that crazy hair for a while, and he had those creepy eyes that were kind of too wide, and he had the big lips. Man, this is so offensive. Okay. And it's going to be pretentious and, extra pretentious hair. Gosh. I'm sorry, guys. What did you do to deserve this? You watched #1 Marmaduke fan. Now you know how I felt reading this comic. I just subjected you to all of that. But we need something pretentious. We need something pretentious to make this work. So let's write 15 minutes of fame. That's pretentious, right? Man, late capitalism. Oh, man. Oh, golly. Oh, I'm back to the really awkward moans. What am I even doing? Why are we even here? Is this real, bro? I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. And I do not recommend Pop by Dark Horse Comics. Catch you later. Peace, man.